Chapter 11, Larry the Lizard. The mascot dressing room was an architectural afterthought. Fun Jungle's designers had originally envisioned an underground staging area connected to various points in the park via a network of tunnels like Disney World had. Actors would have entered it near the employee parking lot and emerged at various points in the park as adorable animated characters. That way, you wouldn't have to walk all the way to their posts in the hot sun, a task that could take up to 15 minutes in a big, bulky suit. However, that was all before J.J. McCracken got the estimate for what the tunnels would cost. $5 million. Screw that, JJ had said, and just paid for some extra dressing rooms. If JJ had never entered one of those dressing rooms, however, he might have decided the tunnels weren't such a bad idea. They would have kept the frightening assortment of people who played the mascots were guessing, or guests couldn't see them. I'd heard that theme parks in Florida and California, the people who played the mascots were usually young, inspiring actors who so desperate to break into show business that they considered dressing as a giant mouse to be a good career move. Central Texas had a dearth of such people. Our mascots had apparently been hired for two reasons. Their body sizes roughly conformed to those of animals they were playing, and they had to be inept enough at most jobs to take one that basically required them to stand still all day. It was a group of people you would expect to see in a police lineup rather than a family theme park. A massive man with arms so tattooed they looked like Sunday comics were the bottom half of Eleanor Elephant while reading an old Guns Ammo magazine. A lanky teenager who reeked of marijuana struggled to climb into their Gina giraffe outfit. The scraggly man who played Uncle O-Ring had contorted widely inside his costume so he could scratch his private parts. All of them probably should have been outside amusing small children, but an impromptu cigarette break had been called. They all inhaled deeply, savoring their smokes, keeping an eye on the entrance in case a supervisor walked in. Charlie Connor was smoking too. He held a huge cigar in his little green hands. I wasn't expecting a couple of kids, he grunted, looking us up and down with annoyance. We looked him up and down as well. It didn't take too long because he was a midget. He was a few inches shorter than me, even though he was around 40. But his short stature wasn't what made him look strange. It was the fact that, save for the head, he was dressed as a lizard. You said you know who killed Henry? Summer asked, ignoring the crack about us being kids. Charlie fixed her with a hard stare until recognition suddenly dawned on him. Then he broke into a wide smile. Wait a minute, he said. You're that girl. The famous one, McCracken's daughter. Before Summer could reply, everyone else turned toward her and gasped with excitement. Within seconds, they were all crowded around her, begging for autographs. Even the tattooed giant who played Eleanor seemed giggity. Hey, Charlie, snapped, trying to shove them all back. She's here to talk to me, not you yahoos. He obviously been hired as Larry because of his size. Larry the Lizard was the shortest of Henry's pals. He was supposed to be some sort of chameleon, but the costume looked more like a frog with a tail. In fact, a few people in PR had suggested removing the tail and simply calling him Freddy the Frog. Charlie seemed to have no great affection for his job. There were 2 obvious cigar burns on the costume, and the head, which lay by his feet on the floor, was slightly crushed as though someone had sat on it. Eventually, Summer signed everyone's autographs, answered for questions, and then graciously asked if she might have a little time alone with Charlie. The other mascots reluctantly backed off, wondering what made the lizard so special. We sat down with him, trying to stay upline of his cheap cigar, which smelt like burnt hair. "Who killed Henry?" Summer asked again. "Why are you asking questions about the hippo?" Charlie asked suspiciously. "For what? 14? "I want to know what happened to him," Summer replied. "And who's this guy?" Charlie looked at me, but still spoke to Summer, even though I was only a few feet away. "He's my friend. You can trust him." Charlie looked us over again. Well, he was certainly excited to have an audience with Summer McCracken. It was obvious he wasn't keen on sharing any information with us. "First things first," he said eventually. "I didn't kill the hippo. This isn't me trying to avert the blame. I didn't like him, seeing as he nearly killed me, but I wasn't in this for revenge or anything." "Of course not," Summer said diplomatically. Charlie rolled up a leg of his lizard suit and pointed to a deep scar on his calf. "See that? That's what the jerk did to me. I'm minding my own business, working on a routine with some of the other clowns, and the fat jerk runs up and attacks me for no reason." It was the first thing I'd said in Charlie's presence other than hello. He knew he was far more interested in talking to Summer than me, but I hadn't been able to keep that in. Charlie turned to me annoyed. "You think I was dumb enough to provoke that bag of pus?" Everyone at the circus knew Henry was bad news. Truth be told, the owners didn't help the situation. They treated him like dirt. But then, they pretty much treated everyone like dirt. Man and animal alike. Point is, I gave Henry a really wide berth, seeing as he didn't like little people. "You're kidding?" This time it was Summer who couldn't hold her words in. Charlie pointed to his scar again. "Does this look like I'm kidding?" First thing they told me when I joined the circus: steer clear of the hippo. He didn't like little people. There was another little person in the clown troupe before I got there, Frankie. Henry had a go at him too. This was his first week there. Frankie was only trying to be nice. Brought the hippo a carrot or something like that. They tell me the hippo acted real nice at first, even wagged his tail all friendly, like a 2-ton Cocker Spaniel, and then boom. Next thing anyone knows, he's got Frankie's head in his mouth. Nearly put the guy in the hospital. "Was he okay?" I asked. "Luckily, yes. Frankie came within an inch of losing an eye, though, and the hippo ate his toupee." I had to bite my lower lip to keep from laughing. It was wrong, but I couldn't help it. The idea of a little person sticking out of Henry's mouth was funny. The fact that we were being told the story by a man dressed as a lizard didn't exactly help it sound serious. I looked at Summer. She was biting her lip too. In fact, she was having so much trouble trying not to laugh, I had to ask the next question. "So what happened when Henry attacked you?" "He just got loose. I didn't know what the handlers were doing with him, moving him, feeding him, whatever you do with hippos. All I know is one moment I'm minding my own business, and the next 4,000 pounds of pissed off hippopotamus is bearing down on me. Must have been 30 guys around, but he comes right after me because I'm a little person. Sank his teeth right into my leg. Thank God Benita was around. Benita? I asked. The bearded lady. She took about a pound of testosterone pills a day to make her hair come in, so she was ripped. Strongest woman you ever meet. She could bend a steel bar into a pretzel without breaking a sweat. Anyhow, when Henry had me in his teeth, she punched the jerk in the nose until he dropped me. Then the other clowns beat him back while Benita got me into the medic. How badly did Henry hurt you? Summer wanted to know. Real bad. That hippo totally messed up my leg. One of his teeth went straight through the muscle, one side to the other. Needed 87 stitches and 12 shots. The doctor said God only knew what kind of bacteria could be in the hippo's mouth. They jabbed me for tetanus, thyroid, yellow fever, you name it. I was like a freaking pincushion, and I lost my job. Why? Summer wanted to know. The circus life ain't exactly plush. There's no medical and dental. If you can't work, you're out. And I had to be on crutches for 3 weeks. No one wants to see a midget clown on crutches. That's not comedy, it's tragedy. So how'd you end up in here? I asked. Well, obviously the circus wanted to get rid of Henry ASAP. So they offered him up cheap, and Fun Juggle came sniffing around. They knew they were hiring. Heck, everyone did, so I presented myself to them. I had good references and a degree from Clown College. Summer laughed. Clown College? That's funny. Charlie scowled at her. It's not a joke. It's a prestigious institution serving those who seek the way of the clown. Not that this place gives a hoot. Here I am, a licensed practitioner of the Harlequin arts, and they basically hired me because I'm short. I thought they were looking for a real clown, not some yutz to stand around dressed like a lizard all day. You didn't know you were going to be in a costume? I asked. No, I didn't, but I thought they'd let me do something. Acrobatics, juggling, let me entertain. But they don't. Apparently, the legal department's afraid of us mascots might hurt a guest if we jump around too much. So we're just supposed to stand still and wave. I might as well be a shrubbery for all I get to do. Charlie angrily flicked the butt of his cigar toward the trash can. It bounced off the rim and landed on the floor, where it started to burn the carpet. Charlie made no attempt to pick it up. So who killed Henry? I asked, unable to keep the question inside any longer. Charlie stared at us for a while, enjoying keeping us in suspense. Then he said, Pete Thacker. Summer and I looked at each other. I didn't know what to think. I didn't like Pete, but it wasn't hard to imagine him killing Henry. Summer seemed a bit more excited by the revelation, though. I wasn't sure if she even knew who Pete was. How'd you know? She asked. Did you see him do it? No. In fact, he didn't do the actual deed himself. He ordered someone else to do it. That's what I saw. How? I was in a costume. I was working over at Umbuko Hippo Overlook. That's usually reserved for the Henrys, but the one who was supposed to be there that day got food poisoning at lunch and had to go to the infirmary. While they were waiting to get another Henry, I got dispatched over there to fill in. It was a bad call. People don't want to see Larry the Lizard at Hippo River. They want to see Henry. In fact, most guests don't want to see Larry the Lizard at all. He's not a very interesting character. Plus, people think lizards are gross. Yet another reason this job bites. So what happened? I prodded. Keeping Charlie on topic was like herding monkeys. I'm standing there being ignored, and then to top it off, Henry has one of his accidents. He fires a load of crap at the Taurus, a huge load. He must have been saving up for a week. He doesn't hit anyone, but he soils the glass at the Overlook, something awful. And it smells so bad people are getting sick, so the park shuts down the Overlook till the cleaning crew can get there. Only the rules state I'm not supposed to leave my post. Now it's like 900 degrees outside. It smells like hippo crap. And I've got nothing to do. So I decided to heck with that and go find a shady spot to sit. I don't want the supervisor seeing me taking an unauthorized break, though. So I find a bench tucked back in the trees around Hippo River where there's not a lot of traffic. I'm there maybe about a minute when I see Thacker come along with some security guard. Which one? Summer asked. I don't know. Some woman, a big woman, but like a truck. Large Marge, I said. Charlie looked at me intrigued. You know her? Yeah, I know her. She's the one who really killed the hippo. I heard Pete tell her too. My eyes widened with excitement. I could easily imagine Large Marge doing something as cruel as killing Henry. Right in front of you? Summer asked. Damn straight. I think sometimes people forget there's a human in this costume, but maybe they didn't see me. The costume's green. It blends into the landscaping. They were off, tucked in the trees themselves. What'd Pete say? I asked. He was royally pissed about Henry's projectile crapping yet again, going on and on about what a headache it was. The guests were all disgusted as usual, and apparently this time some old lady claimed she'd been hit. She said it ruined her dress and she was going to sue Fun Jungle for being unsanitary, total crackpot. But still, it was a major headache for Thacker. So he told this Marge he'd had it. He couldn't wait for Martin to find another hippo to replace Henry with. He couldn't deal with Henry one more day. The hippo was a disaster waiting to happen, and Thacker wanted him dead. So Marge gets all conspiratorial and says, "Are you asking me to kill Henry?" And Thacker says, "Could you do it?" And Marge says, "Not for what I'm getting paid right now." So they negotiate. Marge doesn't seem too bothered by the idea of whacking the hippo. In fact, she seems excited about it. Like she's James Bond and she's been given orders to assassinate somebody. Thacker's much more nervous, like he knows this is a bad idea, but at the same time, he can't take it anymore. The hippo's driving him nuts. They talk money for it a bit, and then they reach an agreement. You heard Marge say she'd do it, I asked. Charlie hesitated. Not exactly. The cleaning crew came along, so Thacker and Marge split. But it was pretty much a done deal. He wanted her to do it. She wanted to do it. A week later, the hippo turns up dead. What more do you need? I looked to Summer. She seemed happy with what she'd heard. I wasn't quite so satisfied, though. There were still a few things bothering me about the whole situation, but before I could even ask anything else, the tattooed man shouted, "Supervisor's coming!" Instantly, the room became chaos. The lazy actors were suddenly full of energy, stubbing out their cigarettes and squirming into their suits as fast as they could. Charlie snatched his lizard head off the floor and slammed it onto his shoulders. "Gotta go," he said, then grabbed my arm and pulled me close. "In case anyone asks, you didn't hear anything from me. If I get in any trouble because of this, I'll come find you." Even though it was coming from a giant lizard, the tone of his voice still scared me. Charlie turned to go, but in the haste, he slammed into an open locker, denting his nose. "Damn it," he muttered. "I've got to get a real job." Then he slipped into the tunnel and vanished from sight.